In this video I'm going to be turning this second-hand 50-pound IBC into a cold plunge ice bath. First thing I needed to do was shorten the frame because it was too tall. So you can see me here with the angle grinder, cutting it flush to the top rail. I went round cutting them one by one, as you can see, and then the whole thing just lifted off in one piece. After that, I just needed to trim the plastic tank down. So again, I used the angle grinder, just cutting it flush with the top of the frame. Once that's cut, just lift it off and set it aside. I then lifted the tank out, ready to start work on the framing. This will be cleaned up later. Next up, I got the battens that will be holding the cladding on, and I held these up to the frame to line up the screw holes, drilling through each upright, ready to screw from the back into the battens. Then went round the top rail, drilling through each one of them. I'm going to be doing 3 rows of battens. So here you can see me doing the second row. And then finally, I move on to the bottom row. After that, I took all the timber collected for this project out, ready to cut. I then cut the battens to length, ready for fixing. I screwed these on through the metal plates into the battens, completing all 3 rows, ready to fix the cladding too. I then got my shiplap cladding and cut that all to length. Once I had my cladding all cut, I started by fixing the first piece, making sure it was in alignment with the frame. After that, it was just a case of putting some adhesive on the battens, attaching the next piece of cladding and nailing it in. I was going to use a nail gun for this, but because of how thin this cladding was, it was a little bit too aggressive, so I just nailed by hand. Finally, getting to the last piece for the corner, which I measured up and trimmed to the right width. I then used this cut piece to fix the first piece of the next row in. Once that was in place, I could then fit the cut piece into the gap. Carried on doing this all the way around, gluing and nailing each piece of cladding in place. Again, on the corners, just lining each piece up, fixing the next row in, then scribing a line down and cutting that final piece to width. I then got my 6x2 timber, which is going to be the top edge, so I measured that up ready for cutting. These were cut at a 45-degree angle to fit together into the rectangular frame for the top. I cut these first two pieces and then measured it by putting it on top to decide the final sizes. Then I did the remaining cuts, it was ready to go together as a frame. As you can see, I just glued and screwed this together into a nice strong frame. Then it was sanded down to leave a nice smooth finish for getting in and out of the ice bath. Now initially I wasn't going to clean this part, but because the tank is slightly translucent you could see through it, so next up got the pressure washer out and gave the base a good clean. After that, it was just down to cleaning the tank. I believe this had been used for storing livestock food, so thankfully there was no waste oil or anything to get rid of in there. I gave this a good clean with the pressure washer and then bleached the inside to give it a proper clean. Working the bleach in with a brush and then spraying it off and emptying all the bleach out. Once the tank was fully clean and drained, it was time to oil the underside of the top lip. So that was oiled and then it was flipped over and put in place, ready for fitting. To attach it to the tank, I'm using more of the battens, which will be attached on the inside, and then the framework will be attached to it. As you can see, I'm placing the batten up under the top lip. This then gets screwed to the other batten that's holding the cladding on. which not only gives somewhere for the top edge to attach to, it also hides the top cut lip of the tank. So as you can see, this is then attached and hides that rough edge. Once the battens were all in place, it was just a case of screwing through the battens into the 2x6s.
I've got my old weight on it, so I can't have any more weight on it.
Once these were all attached, it was time to oil the rest of the wood. The cladding's an untreated pine, but this ice bath's going to be mainly covered under a waterproof cover. So the purpose of oiling it is just for waterproofing it for getting in and out when you're splashing it. The 2x6s are treated timber, but we just gave an extra coat of oil on this just to protect it from the water when you're getting in and out. With everything oiled, it was then time to fill up the ice bath. I then ordered an outdoor table waterproof cover for it, which fit almost perfectly. Then once it was full, it was time for testing. It still needed a little bit more water at this point to get it up to shoulder height. But because, as you can see by the grass, it's winter in Britain, there was actually no need for cooling it. So no need for ice, and the water was a nice 5 degrees. So there we have it, a nice looking functional ice bath plunge pool for a price of only £115, and it looks as good and works as well as some of these luxury ones that people are selling for thousands. Like and subscribe for more videos, and I'll see you in the next one.